Hey everybody, and we're really close now. We're officially in week 16. We are finishing up our chapters by looking at chapter 19, which we'll talk about in a minute. Some people are wondering if they should take the final test, which is extra credit. So it's literally the points you get from it just count towards your total. There's no denominator, let's say. So it really is extra credit. And I'll give you some more details on that towards the end of the week. Now, but do read chapter 19 and do the homework assignment, because those are worth a lot of points too. So the optional test will be due a week from this Tuesday, and it's worth up to 10 points. So if you're on the borderline of a grade and you really want to bounce it up to that next grade, it's an excellent opportunity to do that. If you didn't do so hot on an earlier test but have done well otherwise, it's another way to kind of bolster that. So look at it that way. Either way, I suggest you take it, but it's optional. All right. And I will get you the Enron project grades. You'll have those at the very beginning of the week. I promise you that. So, okay. So that's what's coming up this week. Let's take a look at what's in chapter 19. Now, chapter 19 is kind of an interesting chapter in that it covers other types of securities that can be created, to raise money for your organization. And these will look a little more complex than the ones that you've looked at before up to this point. However, I can tell you, quite honestly, they get a whole lot more complex than that. You start to get a little bit of a feel for how complex they can be just by watching the Enron documentary. It may give you an idea of just the complexity that there can be in financial endeavors, with organizations. So, but what you're covering in this week's chapter are something called convertibles, which are basically just securities that can be converted to common stock, as done on an option by the owner. There's something called warrants, which are basically something you can convert. I guess they're all basically, all these things are kind of convertible in types of investments to the investor. And then derivatives, which we're taking a very light look at it. There are lots and lots of other types of derivatives out there, and people make lots and lots of money on these things, but they're very complex. But you get a flavor for it by working through this week's chapter and the problems that are there. At the end, if you look at this and say, this stuff is really interesting, I really strongly suggest you take other finance classes. You can consider a major of finance in your future, because these things are part and parcel to what you would study as you move on farther. I can honestly tell you, it gets more complex, it gets harder than what we've covered in this class, but you've gotten a very solid foundation and understanding of finance from the material that we covered in this class. So, get those assignments done. You can take a look at whether you want to take that final test, and if you, as always, if you have any questions at all, please let me know about the material, about how class is going to close out, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. Okay, so best of luck for this week, and we'll look forward to the last and final week next week.